Hey, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of the ENS Central Builder Spotlight. I'm your host, Crypto Reporter, and today we have a very special guest. We have the creator of Heaven's Tools, a active builder in the space. So, Dylan, how are you today?
Doing well yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. Now, for those who don't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of background of what you've been doing and who you are in the space?
For sure, for sure. No, sometimes they call me Satoshi.testaccount.eth. That's what they call me
Right.
sometimes off the .eth. But, I got my last name, I got the surname, and I got a subdomain off of it. So Dylan Meador, but Dylan.meador.eth. I've been using that right now. But I've been going for a while by Satoshi.testaccount.eth, and I have built Heaven's Tools. Heaven's Tools is not just a Web3 website builder, it is also a pass into the collection of other utility NFTs and tools and guides and so forth before, their general release. We, beta test them internally, check them out through the community, peer review them, quality control. We see what what the people need, how it works for them when they do get what they need or what they think they need, right? And then we go from there. But that's what we've been doing for the last this year is 2022 is November, but for the last 11 months that's what we've been doing is trying to build internally and push it externally.
Got you, got you. And so before we actually jump into the builder portion, I wanted to, kind of pick your brain a little bit. So what was your first step into the world of Web3?
So ENS itself was originally the first NFT I owned per se. And that was because I had understood crypto for a while and understood the concept of the wallet and the tokens and the coins and ICO and blockchain and things of that nature. But it's never been easy per se to remember or keep up with the crypto addresses of any chain. Some chains
Right.
have shorter address links and whatnot. And then when I heard and learned about ENS, I was saying, what do you mean? I'm familiar with websites and DNS in general for a while. So when I heard that there's a system similar to it that changed instead of IP addresses being changed as crypto addresses, I was very interested. And then I was able to go and look up words and names and things just like I did for .coms, So I got on there and on the ens.domains site, the official site, because there was no mass search engines or anything, bulk registration. There was no such thing as that at the time. So went to the official site like usual and looked up my last name and was able to get it. And I was very glad. And I, went from there. And ironically, I didn't even know about subdomains at the time. I just, had been going by my last name as a nickname and had been lucky enough to go and get that, luckily, right? So a lot of people don't get to get that, but I was able to get it early and not even realize it. And I got a few, but what I did realize, the next one I got was tradable.eth. And that was
Wow.
one of my biggest sales. I sold it, but I did, I sold it for a lot more than what I had even paid at that time. And even at that time, not knowing a whole lot about it, I still gave enough, you know, gave enough respect to this system, even with the slight knowledge I had of it at the time, just in how I understood its place and length of time it's existed and what it's built for. It's not built for any kind of speculative value. We derive the value from it. So it's all utility. That's what also I like. Yeah, it's $5 across the board for anything 5 characters or more, but anything less, is a little more, has that premium to it. So it's all laid out, and I was able to see that plain as day. It made sense, and that's the thing about crypto. There's not a lot in this space that just makes sense, and that they're not hiding anything. I can look. Everything about ENS is pretty transparent, and that's hard to come by in this space. So
Amen
if
to
I'm
that.
going to build build within anything, any ecosystem within Web3 per se, Web3, I'm even hearing people saying, are we changing that word now? I don't know. It's been the word for a long time, but if it does change, if there's any space ENS is a word I did not expect to change, just like DNS. So I build in DNS, I build in ENS, and DNS, vice versa. It supports each other. So I like that. Like, right, support each other, right?
Yeah, I think touching on what you said there, that there's not a lot that actually makes sense in the space, but definitely agree with you on that. That ENS, that makes sense. It does. So,
They have a slogan. I don't think ENS has a slogan per se, but there you go. You came up with it right there. It just makes sense.
it just makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's all it's built for, is to name many things. See, at the time, it was just, to me, crypto addresses in your wallet, but it names websites, hashes of files for websites. It can be smart contract names and many more, and even quick links and tags for your social media. So people are used to Linktree and LinkedIn and My Page and all sorts of link builders that link you to all these social medias, but you never truly own them.
Right.
And they can change, they can get rugged, and then they're gone, or if they don't pay the bill, then your link is gone, even though you might be doing your thing. With .eth, you can have a brand, own it, and as long as you keep it up, it's there. So it's pretty neat in that sense, to where it's decentralized ownership, responsibility. They stress on the word responsibility a lot, but it means different. It's not just like you have a job. It's just you do your job. If you want a job, you got to work. So that's how it is with this. If you want to work, then you got to build. You don't have to build big. You just got to kind of derive value, right? And of any sort, you know what I mean? You don't want to ever, it's just like a bunch of people living in one house. Somebody's got to pay the rent and get the food. So if you got a bunch of domains, you got to make sure you got something paying the rent and getting the food in general. So that's what I like and want to help do in this space, is not only embrace these people coming on board, because people got great ideas and they use that bulk registration. Bless them, right? They register everything they think of. Well, at least one of them should be a hit of some sort, to build something, at least if it's just a simple clickable link. That can be as simple as that. And that's what I want to give to people, is something that they can make simple without having to know a lot, but you don't have to build from the ground up. You can offer a cheap, easy node to use at all times of the day. Kind of like how there's that Linktree side of things, where it exists, but it should not exist to serve you forever. It should be a launch pad. Everything that, if you're a builder so that's another thing, builders building for other builders. You don't see that a lot. You see a lot of for profit. So that's another thing. That's the sense of open source, is for you to take this and modify it and make it better, hopefully, or to your needs. It's never restrictive. So don't get me started on that. I think everything in the web is open source in some sense. It can be hidden and whatnot, but it's on your computer. When that page loads on your side, it's yours on your end. So
Beautifully said. Question for you. When did you first really get into ENS?
it was about 2020 itself. Sadly, earlier in 2018 and 2019, I had looked up Dylan.eth and seen it was available, right?
Right.
It was expensive at the time to me.
Relative,
And I was
right?
like, sheesh. I said, whoa. I said, why would I? That's a lot of Ethereums. It was like whole nuggets of Ethereum now. I said, whoa now. I said, that's like 20 ethers. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to drop that. I said, I got that. But I didn't want to do it. I was even into Litecoin at the time. Screw that damn Litecoin. But it was doing way better than Ethereum at the time. Way better. But, you live and learn, man. One Litecoin could have bought me that name. It was about 250. Litecoin was about to hit 3 and then get dumped. And I'm sitting there holding a few Litecoins. They're heavy after Charlie dumped them. But, but damn, that, it was Ethereum, and I wasn't in it. You know what I mean? I had a little bit of ETH, but I didn't understand. I knew it was like it was at the time they were just starting to say the app store of the
Mm,
blockchain, Ethereum. You know,
mm,
because they were saying like it was doing smart contracts and things. I didn't realize you could do so much more in this sense of like running websites. And think
mm,
about this. Like I was always thinking about it when I hear the app store of the blockchain. I don't think of a website having anything. I didn't at that time. I didn't even know what a quote mint page was.
mm.
You know, and that's the thing. People were even minting from the contract back in the day. You know, so it was all kind of on chain fully because there was no front end. So
Right.
that's another thing. You will never onboard the next million users without the front end. And as you've seen, as we continue to develop front end systems, I do a lot of back end too. It's just at least ironically, it's my hobby, but the front end is also important. I understand. And also, I'm a human. I can't always screw with the back end efficiently. And if I can make something on the front end to do it, you know, I mean, like the toilet, you know, how the toilet works. There's that damn thing in the back, right? In the back, right? You know what I'm saying? But you flush you use the lever to flush the toilet. Well, if you wanted to be a smart ass, you could take the back of it off and pull the string every time and it'd flush. It'd still work.
It still
But why
works.
would you not just use the damn thing in the front that's built for this? That's easier, that operates the back end, right?
Right.
The
Kind of
toilet analogy. Don't make shit harder than it needs to be. Damn, I made that one up today. Why make the back end harder than it needs to be? If you can just make something in the front and you
right.
can just pull a lever or hit a button and the back end does all this complicated lifting and pulleys and whatnot that you don't have to see or deal with, then you've made a product.
Mm.
Even if it's open source product or freeware, a paidware, whatever it may be, that's what it is. But going from there, what my hope is going forward, I want to see. Now, I've developed a lot of things over my time and whatnot. There's people, as you've heard, right, that there's been people that have used Heaven's Tools to make these chat sites and websites and avatars and things of that nature. They, before this, even in Web 2, I've come from different backgrounds that have never built anything online before. They've built things in their life, and you know, there's some of them really impressive. They're like cabinet builders, and you know, car manufacturing, and t-shirt designers, and you know, there's so many different fields and things people do, walks of life. But they're able to imagine knowing that, and taking your hobbies and creativity, knowledge, and history and culture and things and able to bring them into Web3. And
Right.
Web3, in a sense, to me, is not just, it's Web2, it has all of it. But Web3 to me is a change in the online building presence. There tried to be this in the 90s and 2000s and with MySpace and Tumblr, where you could, quote, build a website, right? They still pushing it all day. It's all every day, forever. Since the creation of websites, you've heard build a website to TV, commercial, ads, something. So, because it's true. But I think you're now going to be able to see within this quote Web3 people building their own, not only their own presence, but their own brand. And then that turning into major, major, major things. And you're seeing that now. You see people
Mm.
become a brand, and
Right.
then they might create a word or something to surround that, you know, so they decentralize themselves and create something for the community to build out of, because people don't need to worship people. They don't need to worship anything of that nature. But that's the point. If you have one centralized entity that you focus on or hyper focus on or heads of that nature, people are susceptible to corruption. You need to decentralize yourself. If you have an idea, you know what I mean? If you've made something based upon an idea or an ethos, that needs to be the leader. And that's hard to understand sometimes, because it's saying, how can an idea lead anything, right? People lead people. No, no, no. An idea created by people can be perpetual much longer than any human can
Can ever
create
live.
those same ideas. One
Right.
idea can continue onward for a long time. And that's dangerous in a lot of senses. But if it's a true one, other people will pick up that torch and they'll keep that idea going. And that's why you're seeing it now with this website development, and this idea of crypto and anonymity and decentralized DID ownership and whatnot, it's happening. So I'll read you right now. This was unreal what I read about. So Elon Musk was talking with someone named Michael Grimes, and he was like a friend of his or something of that nature, that was asking if he could talk with Sam over at FTX, right? And he was like, yeah, I need some money and whatnot. This was like way some old stuff. And he was like asking for about some money and whatnot. But this is what really caught my eye in this thread of the email thread. It says, Sam is serious about partnering with you. He has a window tomorrow. Then he's booked. He believes in your mission. And then he says, this is Michael Grimes still talking to Elon about what he's talked with Sam. He says, we would do the engineering for social media blockchain integration founded by FTX crypto exchange. And then Elon says, blockchain Twitter isn't possible as the bandwidth and latency requirements cannot be supported by a peer-to-peer network unless those, quote, peers are absolutely gigantic, thus defeating the purpose of a decentralized network. I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong as hell. Isn't that kind of crazy? And that's disturbing to me because, I mean, you've seen what I've done. I've done some crazy stuff with development-wise. People listening to this in the future might not have known offhand, but I'm going to keep pushing it. But we've created virtual machines within NFTs, VMs, and then you can continue with it. And I understand bandwidth and latency. That's all computers are, right? Ethereum is the public quantum computer. So when he says blockchain, Twitter, that's general as hell. I've been around crypto for a long time. And what I tell you earlier, I had Litecoin, right? That's a different blockchain. So why did I not buy Dylan.eth? Back in 2018, I was on a different blockchain. Blockchain Twitter, it isn't possible? Yeah, because you'd have to create your own chain and nodes. Yeah, the nodes and peers would have to be gigantic because that'd be like what? Solana. That's Solana. So no, Solana is not possible. That's what he's asking. They don't even realize that's what they're talking about. And he's saying it's not possible. It had to be gigantic. Well, Sam couldn't float it. Maybe he could float it, but we don't need that. We have Ethereum. If these assholes would just integrate ENS, it's done. Sign in with Ethereum handles this. How does it work now on all these platforms and whatnot that do sign in with Ethereum currently? If it was not possible, why would all these engineers understand the latency peer requirements if that was not possible? I don't think Elon really understand. I think he understands it, but he does not trust Ethereum.
I think that may be the case. If anything, something is getting in the way of that because I've asked the same questions. You know, why not ENS? Why not Ethereum? I think that there is something that he is resistant to using it for. But if anything, we'll see how this whole thing kind of progresses. It's kind of interesting to watch this whole thing.
Yeah, it is. What a time to be alive.
What a time. It's for those looking back on this is November 11th, 2022. It seems as though crypto is imploding, Twitter is imploding. But if anything, we keep on pushing, we keep on building. So we'll get back to it. You said that Dylan.eth was taken, correct?
It was available for a little while, and it was available in 2018 and 2019, and then 2020 I come back to get it. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to come get it. I'm going to pay the premium. Nope, it's taken. So I'm like, oh hell, look at my last name, because there's a lot of them though. I was like, oh shit. No, it was free. I said, okay, good. And left it at that. But I didn't really, I was like, who got it? You know what I mean? I was mad. So you know what I did next? I got my full name, .e, of course, right? Well, I got tradable next because it was available. And then I got my full name.
Hmm. Okay, so that was the very first one that you registered.
Yeah. Gas Gua was at 99 all the time. I paid about $100 every single time for every single domain. For that
Oh,
$5 domain, I paid $100 and it was, for a year.
wow. Wow.
Mhm.
That's commitment.
Yeah. A lot of people did. And you can ask anyone from that time, they were paying those prices.
Hmm. Hmm. See, it's kind of crazy how whole thing has grown because, we take it for granted the low gas fees and things of that nature. People are registering for, $10, $10 if
Yeah.
that. And definitely a lot of changes in the space so far. So, did you expect ENS to get the attention it has today when you first started, or was this a surprise to you?
I had figured there was already more of a presence, and there was not. And I was like, well, that's unreal. Like, what do they call it? Where's the advertisements, this and that, et cetera? And
Right.
that's when I learned it's all kind of community driven in a way. It's mostly, what is this? It's a public good. So that's when I
Right.
really understood what a public good is and learned. And I had a lot of, at that time, it was so early, the only people that you could talk to about ENS was the damn people that worked there. There's a lot of people that work there at ENS that work just a part of the DAO and whatnot. So,
Right.
I was in there in the Discord and the DAO, and I was talking with them all the time, just saying, hey, I'm screwing around with this and that. And we would talk about it all the time. And then I started, that's when Twitter Spaces kind of came out. And
Mm.
I figured, I'm sitting here just chilling. And I just figured, I did a lot of threads at the time, just educational threads and my thoughts on web development and random things. And I would post it out, and I got a lot of people kind of, responding in it. And I said, well, one day, I've done a lot of speaking things and whatnot in general. And, being in a Discord call and versus being in a Twitter space, it wasn't really nothing different to me. So I'd fire up these Twitter spaces kind of late. I call them secret midnight space. I wouldn't say nothing. I'd just do that. And then people would join in. I would just talk about whatever, decentralization, quantum computing. We talk about everything. And then people would, tune in, and we would end up doing it every night for like 2 weeks. And we'd have like 300 people come in, and we were having great. We would be on the thing. The problem is the midnight space. We had to start in the midnight space earlier because our time zones are all screwed up. I was like, well, look, people, this is on my crazy ass time zone. I'm the crazy guy doing it. You gotta deal with my crazy stuff. I remember, and I can't be trying to make a schedule. I'm crazy. So I said, look, fine. And I started doing it early. I started doing them at like 9 and 10, which was like midnight in all these other places. And um, I'd meet folks from like Thailand and Australia and New Zealand and Russia and China and then Canada and Mexico, Brazil. There's so many people I would just meet that would just hop in the space all the time and would say, I agree with what you're saying, or be like, I know what you mean, or they would just share their experience. There's so many people I've never had a bad, knock on wood, but I've never had a bad space per se that have had anyone come in, be disrespectful, crazy. I've had some funny stuff, but nothing bad. And that's another thing about ENS is it ain't pure, by any means, but it's like you said, it's simple to its core. It's just so damn simple, transparent. What they see me and see what we're doing and see what we're doing. There's nothing. What's the problem? You know what I'm saying? We ain't causing no harm. We're just building websites. I'm building like Pac-Man and stuff, but
Right.
there's value with all of this. And if you say, I'm going to make Pac-Man Tetris or some shit, do it. There's nothing stopping you. That's what's so crazy. And the barrier is so low. $5 entry fee, right, to get your damn domain now, which is great. And hosting and these guides and whatnot on average to fully host it. And this is perpetual hosting now with SSL and high-end CDN hosting and fast resolution and whatnot, $4 on average. So about $10 total You can buy, host, publish a full-blown website, start to finish, and share it out.
Wow.
And you can't do that anywhere else. And usually the wait time, they call it TTL, time to live, time to live, etc. It usually takes 4 to 6 hours, if not 24 hours. With ENS, resolution across the whole web is usually 5 to 10 minutes.
Hmm.
And you know how handy that is for my procrastinating ass? Real handy. And on top of that, when you do this, you get the secret unlock, subdomains. You can endlessly make subs, and they all have the same respect as the parent root, and they all get HTTPS SSL security on top of it for free. And with the wrapper upcoming, you'll be able to tokenize those subs and sell them off, burn what they call fuses, and give complete ownership to another wallet holding those subdomains off of your root.
They don't know. They don't know.
And it's, they're trying to discuss it. They're putting out more guides and whatnot, but see, they're technical guides, white papers, right? So they're very, very technical and deep and whatnot. And what I want to do sometimes is take that, and people have done it for me even. So that's the thing. Only reason I know this is because other people have done it for me in other areas. And I hope by doing things I do, maybe helps other people to do that in other areas too that I might not even know. So if I can take a white paper, read through it, summarize it, and be like, all the other stuff is just general shit, and this is all you need to know, then you can continue doing your own research. No, by any means, you should. But it's good to be able to trust, verify a peer or a set of peers in your network by consensus and say, yes, we've looked through it, skimmed it, and looked at it, and yeah, this is really all you need to know. The rest of it's in, just jargon. So imagine if everything was like that. The Cliff Notes, right? That's what they call. That's another word people like to call. Give me the Cliff Notes, they say.
Right, the 10-second summary.
Yes. TLDR. That's the web. Too long, didn't read.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the biggest hurdles for people, normies coming into the spaces. Really, they're trying to figure it out. And every time we talk, it seems like it's technical. It's blockchain agnostic, cross-chain compatible. I think the goal right now needs to be to simplify and to be able to tell people what is really possible with this technology. But
I heard someone say before, if you can make something seem super hard and complex, so hard that they wouldn't want to even think about it, makes you seem smarter by default, because you might know, you must be smart since you know about this. So we see how that played out today with Sam and those other smart people.
Yeah, I did want to circle back on that just to get your thoughts, and I know we're gonna go on a little bit of tangent because I did say earlier in the podcast it is now November 11th, 2022. So this week is the week that FTX, one of the top exchanges, pretty much imploded. So wanted to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll circle back on to ENS. But real quick, yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole thing that's happening right now?
Yeah, for them to have filed for bankruptcy on top of about 100 other child companies and so forth, and sister hedge funds and things like that, it's just concerning, because think about it like this. They've had all of this outside inward looks and eyes at some point. I mean, I even still seen I ain't gonna say his name because they're gonna see. I started saying naming these big profile people, we're gonna get disappeared. So let me think. It's a lot of money to just go belly up, but I seen the balance sheet of what coins were in their possession, and they're all shit coins. Okay, so there's a hole there, but it's all very, 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 very convenient, well timed, obvious. I mean, they were on the Super Bowl last year. The long Super Bowl commercial, right? That's all you got to say. The long one, not the Coinbase one, the short one with the shit bumping around on the screen. The long one that kept playing. How right? How did Tom Brady not have someone look into this shit? Steph Curry, a lot of people, a lot of things, a lot of smart people not see this of something. I mean, I'm not looking, I had a doctor. I had to get my gallbladder taken out one time, right? It was they couldn't find it the first time. And I said, why? They said, well, we weren't looking there. So there's a problem, but they just weren't looking in the right place. And that's the thing. Even the most trained people can just overlook big shit, big obvious shit. And on top of it, it was in my family history to need that shit taken out. So that's just negligence, you know what I mean? So I don't know. A negligence on who? Regulators? So where like is that? That's why so many people want to say it's an inside thing, because they say regulators are step one to getting off the ground. That's who stops it or squashes it or steps in, this and that. And there wasn't any of that. But I mean, there's a lot of people at play here, so it doesn't make sense. And they were investors for a lot of political parties. Doesn't make sense. So, what is it? I've been around since crypto. I've had crypto since '06. Isn't that crazy? '06. So, yeah, it's been around a long ass time. So I remember seeing Liberty Reserve. It was a 1-to-1 stable coin backed by nothing really, but it was a digital coin like eGold and Zcash. And it had an implosion. It was owned by a guy, and he was doing a bunch of shit and whatever, but he got shut down in 2013. The only other thing around at the time was Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin was there, but it was anonymous. It wasn't really worth a lot. And then Bitcoin was around, and then Litecoin and Ethereum kind of popped in, Charlie Lee and Vitalik. And that's when the ICO stuff was really starting to pop off. And at the time, Litecoin had a lot of people and celebrity investors and things like that, and TV shows and stuff coming out, and Facebook was going to use them, and they were saying like it's the silver and the Bitcoin's the gold, and that's what they were saying. They weren't saying nothing about Ethereum. They were calling it the Russian Bitcoin. They said Russia owns this and that and whatnot. So it's all speculative, right? That's why people trust Bitcoin, because it's anonymous. People trust Vitalik because it has utility. And they can prove a lot of stuff. They know he has a big ass master node worth of Ethereum. They know big companies have their own nodes of Ethereum and whatnot, because they understand the power of these things. But it's up to us to use these things. They're nothing without us. Peers in a peer-to-peer network, there has to be peers in that network. So if we just don't play, then it's over. So it needs to be for us, by us, or it's not going to be used. It would never last. DeFi is not centralized exchanges.
Right. And I think that's what everybody's, really starting to understand now, that this may hurt right now, but it just proves the point of why DeFi is needed, why a decentralized exchange.
Not your keys, not your coins. That's not needed. That's just a reminder. DeFi is what's needed, not just cold wallets.
But it's crazy how you see the ecosystem really trying to fix itself now by having all of these companies or all of these exchanges pretty much come out and say, here are our wallets. Here, we're going full transparency. So
exactly, you're right. That's what they've had to do. They've had to just keep, because it's all there anyway. But there's ways. It's a damn technology built for, privacy. So there's ways to hide your wallets, and I hate saying the word. It's hard to say. Obfuscate. You know what I'm saying? I know how to do it. Yeah, that shit's hard to say, but that damn shit, it's hard to see it all. You can kind of shuffle it around a whole lot, and especially in exchange, if you got time and money, you could pay a dude to do it all day long. So that's where they say regulation is going to come in and this and that because of that. But it happens a million ways. You see, what was it? They said one of the banks, Wells Fargo or something, was popping up accounts for customers on their behalf that they didn't even know about, and they didn't even do nothing about them. They were just popping up sub accounts so that it looked like they were opening a bunch of accounts, on paper for the bankers. but they were just popping up accounts and existing customers' names that, they go in their website or their bank account and they'd see 6 other empty accounts to their name. They'd be like, what the hell is this? So there's ways even in the Web 2 banking world that Web 3 crypto wallets are no different. It's just, KYC is just another layer. But Bitcoin originally, in the white papers and Satoshi's discussions and whatnot, he recommends using a different Bitcoin wallet for every transaction. A new address every time. And it says fund it with different means and methods and DeFi methods and whatnot. It says never funded the same way even. And that's
that I did not know.
Some old OG shit, man. That's what I'm saying. There's ways to do it. There's you know what a paper wallet is? You can take a wallet all the way down to a piece of paper and to zero if you wanted to. Yep, completely paper, no digital, nothing. But it's an on-chain wallet. You generate it, but you get your seed phrase one time, write it down on paper, you roll it up and hide it, and that's it. There was no hot wallet back in the day.
Right. It was all code wallets.
And back when I was mining Bitcoin, you had to download the whole blockchain to your computer at all times to accurately mine. And I had shitty internet. I was trading my Bitcoins for farm coins. I would trade them for farm coins from Farmville and Farmtown from Facebook.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and I would use them to buy pigs and stuff, big plots of land, and I would go to the farmer's market and sell it for PayPal money. I'd add them Facebook mamas. I talked to them on the, in the big farmer's market. I'd chat to them and I'd be like, hey, I'm selling bulk piggies and coins and whatnot, add me on Facebook and we'll talk from there. And they'd add me on there and we would talk and I'd be like, look, send me the money. And I'd get paid in PayPal for the coins that I was buying from people that were, doing these methods to get thousands of farm coins, right? They were, doing things to get them. And they were farming the farm coins and I'd pay them in Bitcoin for the farm coins.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I did that for a bunch of stuff. And then Liberty dollars at the time, here's what's so messed up. One Liberty dollar is like one USD. Well, 5 Bitcoin was one LR, one Liberty dollar, one Liberty Reserve LR, because it was 20 cents. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, $1 was 5 Bitcoin for $1.
Good God.
And I was, on average, my minimum was $20, per million coin. So I was like, what, 20 times 5? 100 Bitcoin. Usually I'd get 100 Bitcoin and then do the transfer. Allegedly, right? I've never owned Bitcoin.
I was gonna say, can I get like I need to travel back in time and figure out what.
Yeah, and I was about 13 and 14 as well. I was very young. And that, that'd be right now at $22,000 a piece. It'd be 2.2 mil.
Good God.
For about $20. That's how much $20 at that time is 2 mil now, give or take. So, but I never would have held all that. You know what I mean? I would have never, at any point, when they would have hit $100 a Bitcoin, $1,000 a Bitcoin, I would have sold. And I did sell, and so it's fine.
I was going to say, we still have opportunities in ENS, so
yeah,
we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, in your opinion, what's the biggest use case for ENS in the future? Is it, Web3 identity?
The biggest use case is going to be human readable naming of smart contracts and wallets. Now, websites are one thing. That's going to be, of course, that's just the websites, of course, have inherent value. But the biggest thing is going to be websites don't name people, you see. But crypto ENS does. It can name people, but also be smart contracts and websites and things like that. And they need to name smart contracts because a lot of people need to be able to verify in a lot easier ways than right now. So if ENS can name wallet addresses and keep up with them a little easier, make that easier to DeFi easier to do, then it should do the same for smart contracts, and it can. So I treat smart contracts in the same way as people, right? Because it's a peer. You could think of a project as being a peer because it's a conglomerate. So it's like Elon said, the gigantic peer. A project is a gigantic peer if it's a good project. So if you were to think of all the major projects in Web3, if they're the major peers and off of them are a bunch of little nodes and whatnot, that's how the internet works.
And question for you, because you did touch on it. Can you touch on it just a little bit more about actually naming the smart contracts? Why would someone want to go and do that and actually name the smart contract?
So like with my project, I have heavenstools.eth. It points to the contract that holds the pass, and I do that just for easy snapshots. So I can look up, there's some automated snapshot systems as well, but on Etherscan, I can just type in the .eth of my project, and you can do this for any of your projects that you do this with. If you point the ETH address field to be the OX of your contract or any contract, it will associate with that for easy lookup. Verifiable lookup. So let's say the verifiable owner of a wallet, that is the deployer, the person. That's the thing. People create smart contracts and projects, etc. So you can verify my wallet, and from there you can verify me registering heavenstools.eth, the whole 9 yards there. You can see it on chain, me setting the records, and then you can see it set and pointed to that collection that has all of the tokens and the whole 9 yards. There's nothing left out to be questioned in that string. And there's nothing else in Web3 that I know. There's maybe some other projects that are doing this, but I cannot think of offhand any project that from start to finish, you can verify every leg of it. You can verify, you can even see what I'm holding in there. Everything that's been through Heaven's Tools, project-wise, mint-wise, demo-wise, production-wise, is all through one deployer wallet in and out. It's my form of a DAO, really. So everyone contributes, but I'm kind of the smart ass just building things, but I want y'all to help. And people are. That's the thing. Like, I'm going to keep building my things, but like I've said a long time ago, my goal is to decentralize my knowledge. So if I can keep doing what I do, I'm not going to stop. I keep deploying what I know and building what I got and releasing what I got. Other people will pick up these torches and these batons, and they're not going to have to run ahead of me and keep going by themselves. They can run with me. They can either catch up, run alongside me, or run ahead of me, whatever. But I'm running right there with you. So that's the thing about ENS, is where we can all run this race together. And, there is no winner at the end of the damn race. We're all running, you know what I'm saying? Just don't fall. We try to keep everybody lifted up, lift your ass up and keep running.
Beautiful. And kind of coming off of that, you're saying that, okay, this is what it's going to be used for smart contracts. And you think that it's going to be, it is a naming protocol. So what do you think that people currently misinterpret or really don't understand about ENS just in general?
Well, some people think of it, I guess, as just an identity and not even something that they own as an NFT itself. I think they think of it they've been so fooled by username ownership in the past, like a Twitter username or a email or anything of that, the Xbox gamer tag or whatnot. You're kind of under the impression that you own it just because you said it. But there's a final step in ENS. You got to mint that damn thing to own it. There's a lot of people that don't even do that step, and they'll go about using it, and that's confusing. And I've asked people that have been because people will look them up and they'll say, hey, you don't even own this, or I own this on the burner wallet. What do you mean? You own this, you're going by this name. And, it's odd. And they'll say, well, I just don't know even how to do. I don't understand what this is, but I'm in crypto, and they just don't want to seem dumb or whatever it needs to be. But, there's nothing about that. They just need to know how easy it is, what it's for, use it as their own identity if need be, to point to their own wallet, But if you are, there's a lot of people that don't understand ENS and websites that do understand Solidity and Rust and JavaScript and things like that. So if they can understand the use cases, not just for, people that want to stay anonymous, but make it easier for people to witness their art or work or whatever, this is for that. They can use it for that, or they can use it if they're just a developer helping a project get off the ground that they're just working on just for work. ENS helps that too. Say, hey, man, I know a way that you can verify your project easier without me having to give you the hex address every time like I use to look up. Just use this .eth. It points to your stuff. You can watch, check your collection at any time, this and that. Or people, tell your people to, send money to this .eth, or they can verify their holdings by going to this one or this .eth.limo, which is a website. So there's a lot of use cases for everybody. That's what's so great about it. Anything that's built for use, not built for profit, built for use. They've already made their money. That's the thing about ENS. They got a grant. When you get a grant, it's because you got something that needs to be built, but you need the money to do it first. So they got the money already. They built it. But the payment is to keep it going long term, to keep it operating. So there's enough money in the vault now, really, to keep not only operating itself, but to fund outside continue operation, just like we've discussed. So yeah, I'm doing things internally developing, but my things are to help you launch pad into your own things, bring value back to the Heavens Tools project. If not, build your own value. Hell, you can pay your car off with your damn value. I don't care what you do. That is the goal. Do what you need to do with the tools you have, whether it's empower other members or build your own value and valuation or something, just build your own chat thing, just to talk and hang out. But if you want to take it and sell it, so be it. It's yours. That's another thing. I've given full Creative Commons licensing of everything that we allow you to create through the tools I've sub-created, right? It's all yours. We've, listed that out, plain as day, obvious, and within the site, and even avatars you can create through the avatar tool. You own them. People have already used them. They integrate them with their projects. It's theirs. So I'll give you some history on that. When I was in college, I had to do web app and app development for iOS and things like that. Well, they had these specialized Apple computers given to them by Apple with the newest versions of Xcode and whatnot. And they had Apple instructors come in and from California to talk about Swift coding language and Go and all this shit. Right. And I learned a lot about it. And I know how to develop apps and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, if I used their computers to make it, even if I took the code off of the computer, if I started it on there, they would own it forever, fully. Wow. No ifs, ands, or buts, or royalties, or nothing about it. It was property of the school. If you even compiled it, started, look at it, any piece, part, or form, and they were serious about it too. And my instructors were like, hey, they see me develop things. I didn't, I completed it to finish my exam. I had to complete the finished full one, but all the projects I had, I would never let them see the final finished form of most of them. They wanted to sell my work on behalf of the school to raise money.
Wow.
And I said, wait a minute, I done paid money to go for these classes. I said, you can't take my work and sell it. So I hid some of my work, but that really disturbed me. That disturbed me. I said, this is not right. We all talked about that. We're all talking about that stuff together when we were my classmates and I were roommates even. So we were like, hey, this is wrong. They should not be able to do this. So what we've done, we own our code. We took our code with us. We can, export it. We had emulators for Macs. We would compile the code and whatnot. And the stuff we were building was just games for us. We were playing like, you ever play the game Ace or Captain Dickhead? You know what I'm talking about? Or Waterfall? You know what I'm talking about? You ever played that?
No.
Played that in the car? You heard it's 2 for you, 3 for me? You draw the card, the drinking game. You never played it?
Oh, no.
Probably not.
Now I have to.
Let's see.
I got, I
Here's
got
the
something.
thing.
I got something
The
to
hard
say.
thing about it, we could never keep up with a pack of cards, and we might be able to keep up with a pack of cards, but we were always missing a card or two from the pack, which doesn't make the game fun, right?
Hmm.
So we need all the cards. But so I made was a game that was multiple card games, but it was a deck of cards as well, an app, like a deck of cards on your phone. It has an app. Isn't that, that you can play different games with. You just choose the mode or just choose playing deck of cards and you got it wherever you are. Digital deck.
Hmm.
That's what we called it. We all developed Digital Deck, which is a multi-game iOS platform for you to just have a deck of cards, tap, 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 tap. You can flip them like that, like you're on them, like a casino table. But if the school would have it, they'd sell it full blown.
Goes back into this centralization.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What if we wanted to release it out for free? We wouldn't even have that choice. So that's the thing. I want to be able to give people anything we allow. They need to be able to give it for free, for paid, whatever. But it's their choice. It's nothing that should be up to anyone else besides the people who put the time in to do it, to learn it, to do it. That's the parts of it. It's one thing to do, but to learn to do, anyone can hammer a nail, but to know where to hit it every time is another thing. So,
Well said. Well, all right. So we're going up on the builders portion, but we got one last question right here, which is: are there any projects that are really being built out in the ENS space that you have your eye on right now?
of course, ENS Vision, of course, right? Domain plug. There's going to be some more to that avatar side of things. There's going to be a lot more art utilities to come. You've seen some banner ones probably, and some things of that nature that let you make collages and banners and things. And that's where we come into that same side of things where, the app store of the blockchain of Ethereum, you're seeing it now through .e. So you're really seeing it now. So you're going to see more and more niche categorized tools. You're seeing a lot of not generic, but general purpose, like ENS Vision is a marketplace, and then there's ENS Inspiration, that's the banner tool. Then you got Domain Plug, which is the marketplace. So that's the thing. That's what's good though. You want somebody to do something and do it right. One thing usually, right? If you're good at one thing, do it. That's the thing. You should do that one thing, focus on it, make it the best you can be. But with Heaven's Tools, the project that I'm, going through and whatnot, it's web development in the sense we're not trying to make a marketplace. We're trying to make a website of any other category. So we're kind of surrounding every other niche, which might not get that attention, but it's important for the people, which would use the other things. So if you're one person and you say, okay, well, I'm a gardener. Gardeners need websites and payment plans and a presence. And if we just strip out everything of ENS, we just strip out all the speculative value that's recently came about in categories and whatnot, strip it all out, and you just leave all the utility of that. We have many marketplaces with great filtering and categorization, and we have great art-based things to build upon them, but nothing to really build a corporate commercial presence. Can you agree to that? Do you know anything else project wise built around, even internally for ENS itself, besides Heaven's Tools? Do you know any other project that's geared toward commercializing, building out your presence in Web3 on any platform?
Right.
UD, ENS, AVAX, any of the damn Doge, Soul, anything. Why is they're not doing it? Because where's the money in it? Why would I give a shit? And they want to see it implode. They don't care about crypto, these big entities. It's going to be up to people giving a shit about what you got to say and taking the time to help you build out and let you say what you got to say. And that's how we get what we enjoy about the web. The web's been a good thing in some areas, and it's because of people. It's never been a computer make something great that we've just all enjoyed and went with.
Well, it seems like Heaven's Tool is going to be that platform where it's able to be built out. And I'm really looking forward to really seeing what comes out of it. But a question for you right now, which is what inspired you to do this in the first place? Is it because you saw that need?
Yes, that's it. I mean, that's exactly it. I was here hanging out with a lot of people of the Dow for a long time, doing these spaces and everything. And I've just, they've known my history of development, web development, and things like that. And I just did it when I knew I could do it, I did it for myself. And when I did it for myself, I was then told of the need of others this is literally what I was told. And this really hit me. A real good friend of mine, Zadok, he works with ENS and does some things with him. He was in some Discord all the time. And he told me, he said, people come in all the time in Discord. Because I remember I was hanging out and there's nowhere else to chat about ENS. Well, corporate commercial entities would show up a lot in the little chilling Discord, They're hanging out in
Right.
our zone, they're coming down there and saying it's like Gucci and Puma and all, I'm saying it's big folks. And they're
Right.
coming down and saying, hey, we see the power of this technology. We've researched it. We've read the white paper. It's like, yeah, us
Mm.
too. So, they're hanging out and they're saying, um, well, smaller entities, even a big entity like that, they're like, well, great, glad to talk to you. We have an in-house team to make us a website and build on it. Thanks for your time. And they do it internally. Littler entities, even kind of big entities, even, projects, right? They don't have that knowledge to do it. Or they might have a web developer, but he don't know how to, or he or she don't know how to deploy on the damn decentralized web. So, there you go. You need something, not just see, if they say you need someone to do it. I don't want to be someone. I was someone for a while doing it. I had webportal.eth, the web development for Web3 Builders Association. Now, that shit, it did great. I had a team of builders that work with, I still got them. They work with me. But here's the thing. I could build you a website, but it could be, but more than likely it will not be exactly how you want it, right? I mean, how could it be? I can't see in your brain. I can't see what you see. But let's say I give you the tools for you to build it yourself and other things that you might want to do and add on to it. Then, I mean, it sounds generic to say, but you can't really complain if you built it yourself because you're able to not only build it yourself, which empowers you to create, but you're able to revise it on the fly, which I understand from an efficiency point of view. If you have to contact your web developer over and over and over again, he might be a chill guy. He might do it. He might do your revisions on the fly instantly. He might say, hey, here's how you do it. And he teaches you a way to do it or whatnot. Or he might be hours or, might charge you every single time or might not do it at all. With this form, with my concept, you should be able to not only build your presence, but revise it as need be to fit the occasion. You might be that gardener for a week and you're like, well, now I'm a plumber. Well, you should be able to go back, revise your content and publish it without having to ask anybody shit. I mean, here's the thing. It costs money to develop. And if you're developing to have a presence and work and you're employed or whatever the case may be, or trying to do a startup on your own, your capital goes into everything. Every play is important. Every dime is crucial. It has to be measured. So and that's why ENS is so low to begin with, because they've understood that concept too. This is made to help facilitate transactions on top of everything. If you're in some nation that has a market collapse of whatever sort, you can
Right.
use this to still function and provide a service to your community and get your payment too, without having to say, I'm just going to serve myself, self-serving, self-preserving, because I have no other choice. There needs to be a choice, and there hasn't been. So I was inspired by the lack of choice, because the options are there to do it. but the knowledge and choice is not. It's just an option versus a choice. You can't choose to do something if you're not presented the option.
Just reflecting on everything you said, and to be honest, you're right. If you don't have an option, how are you supposed to choose?
I didn't know for a long time. And when I did finally learn, I was doing something called IPFS, which is great, the Interplanetary File System Service. But the thing is, if you only use an IPFS hash and you make a change to that file later, that hash changes. And you have to change, you have to pay. See, that's where the problem comes in, right? You have to pay another fee to update and revise it at that point. But that's when I was then shown by the same people that were like, hey, I see you're doing this. I'm now going to help you understand something else because you've now taken the first step to continue. You should use IPNS, the pinning service, the naming service of it. It's not ENS, but it's a naming service that helps ENS. Pointers helping another pointer that create hops in a chain of custody. So I was able to be shown this. I'm able to utilize this. And not only now do I have dynamic revisions of my websites and code base and sites in real time, I now have no chance of my site being deleted by something called the garbage collector. If you do not pin your files on IPFS, IPFS is very self-sufficient in the sense that if the file has not been pinned, it's not been given priority. And it will be cleaned up based upon activity after 30, 60, 90 days to keep itself fresh, clean, and, efficient. That's pretty badass. I've done a lot of computer maintenance over the years, right? And so for a system to do that on its own, hell yeah.
Right, to clean itself out. That's And I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about IPNS. If you have it pinned, therefore you don't have to worry about trying to pay those gas fees every time you're trying to reply.
It creates instead of a volatile file, it creates a container that is. You could think of the file being paper, the container being stone, or safe or whatnot. IPNS creates this safe that the files are now contained within. Otherwise, they're just kind of loose. If you don't ever really plan to change your IPFS file, you kind of just want to make a static page and you're like, I'm never going to change it. You can do IPFS. You can pin IPFS even and not even use the IPNS link. You can use because that's the thing. IPNS just points to IPFS underneath it. It's layers to this. But you can use just the IPFS hash, but think of it as a laminated piece of paper if you don't plan to change it. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper that can be wrote on, erased, changed, and then using IPNS, all those changes are then already re-added to the damn drawer, the vault, and are posted live to the chain, and you never even have to pay another fee, and you're done. You just kind of you keep up with the registration of the .eth that points to IPNS, which points itself to all of those files. And to deploy it to that network, I utilize GitHub. GitHub itself is a decentralized protocol. Did you know that?
No.
Git, G-I-T, is actually the protocol itself. Git is the decentralized protocol. Think of it now, it's really going to blow your mind, right? Git is the decentralized protocol, peer-to-peer. And what is the last part of it? Hub. Don't it make a lot of sense now? GitHub, right? The peer-to-peer hub for Git, the peer network, like ENS, it's Git and GIT. GitHub. It's like ENS hub. I wonder if that's taken. I'm sure it is. But I'm getting that, right? Like, there you go. GitHub is this peer-to-peer network. IPFS can be deployed using Git. It's all right there. And you're not having to use one simple based system to do it. You're not having to use Windows or Mac or anything. And I do it with my phone. I've done it with Macs of different brands, the laptops and desktops. iMacs and iPhones. I've done it with Windows. I know it works on Linux. I've done it on Ubuntu, in Kali, but there's no platform I have not seen ENS support as well out of the box, and that's impressive to me as well.
Yeah, they definitely thought of everything.
They tried to. It's over 5 years now, and they've had a lot of smart people and input from the whole Ethereum community, and then some, because it supports all chains. So really, anyone can come in. So that's what I like about it. It's really the melting pot of crypto.
Right. Melting pot of crypto. We just got to keep coming up with these catchphrases. So far, we have decentralized knowledge,
Yeah, I know. I try to. That's the thing that I always say. I'll remember them again if they're any good.
Yeah. So, if there was one thing that you could add, to your projects, what would it be?
More chains. I want to support more chains, and see if I can bring utility to other chains of some sort. But that's the thing. There is no one central blockchain. If there was, I think we'd all be a lot better off. But God knows what it would do. Who knows? If there's one big one to build in, ENS is that one big blockchain for me. It's a protocol, So even though it's on Ethereum, it's still a protocol in and of itself. So I don't know. I like it, the ENS. So I wish it could support. I wish more people knew it supported more. And I wish that the Ethereum chain didn't have really. I know you can do stuff on Polygon and things like that, but I don't know. There really needs to be more kind of singularity in that sense for me to really want to explore more chains, because the Ethereum changes so fast. So it's just a matter of, I don't know. I have to be. It's like when like someone that's used Windows all the time is trying to be persuaded to use not a Mac but Linux. It's another. Or someone in Linux being recommended to use a different version of Linux, and it's like, I don't know. I'd have to be really persuaded, and I'm doing the persuasion with ENS and Ethereum, I think. So I always say, prove me wrong, show me up, do something with it. I advocate and implore anyone to build on whatever chain and provide something for people and do or whatever. So, I mean, if that answers it, I would wish that I could empower other people to want to outdo me. Because that's the thing. I just started doing it because it wasn't being done. Like the YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of subscribers. I've had 50,000 views. And, and I'm just talking on my videos. I've never edited a single tutorial, start to finish, every single one. You can see it. You can see me do it. You can see me start the video, and you can see me end it with OBS. And that's how it's real. That's how you do it real. That's the thing. The only thing real to me is if you can do it start to finish and not cut, segment, slide it out. I want to see you do something from the time you get started to the end, and every second you wait and things like that. Because if my experience can be relatable, that doesn't happen. You don't just see it done through and through with anything in crypto. It's always edited, Photoshop, sleight of hand, magician magic.
Right, smoking
coming
mirrors.
Soon shit. Yes. It's not that. I know the back end. I know what's happening in the damn toilet. You know what I'm saying? I know how the toilet works. Ain't gonna tell me how it's flushing.
One thing I did like about this discussion is that it's unfiltered. It's real authentic, and so hopefully our viewers are.
What do they call it? Immutable. It's immutable. They say that's the word.
That's the one right there. Well, last question for you for the evening. If you could have any .eth, would
you ready? One? What do you think? Well, I'll ask you first. If you could have any .eth, what would you have?
I mean, God.eth is pretty badass. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It'd be Vitalik. It would be the one I want.
I mean,
you can't take my answer now. If someone asks you again, you can't use my answer.
Oh
No
no,
one
no,
else
no.
uses that answer but me. Vitalik.e. I would love to have his name as
And
.e.
I was gonna say, and why? Like,
I mean, it's funny as hell. On top of it, it's just like, I'd deploy all my contracts as Vitalik.
mm,
I'd buy weird shit as Vitalik. Ain't no telling what I do. That tells you right there. You can just don't get me started, right? But that tells you the need to own your own identity in some way, shape, or form. Or let's say you don't own your name. It doesn't matter. You build and present your own presence, if that makes sense. You build your
right,
own presence, and that's your name. And
right,
that's why my smart ass went by test account for so long, because everyone had short names and this and that, and single emojis and digits. And this was
right.
before even then. I
Mm.
was literally, and then on top of it, I made it real. Someone joked and said, Dylan, every time I see you, your name gets a little longer. I said, hell yeah, because it doesn't matter. They recognize me by what I'm doing, not based on my value of my .eth. I was using for a long time Satoshi.testaccount.eth. And why I chose Satoshi is because I'm trying to show you as a proof of concept, you can mint anything as a subdomain.
Right, right.
Right. So that shows the value, right? So that was my little joke was even Satoshi can have a test account
That's
subdomain. I'll sell one to his ass. Let him use one to build off of because he's late. Satoshi's even late. But then they're like, well, that's you now. I'm like, oh, hell. They're like, you've been around long enough, smart ass. So I've been around. I was around when Satoshi started doing this shit, and I didn't think nothing of it. I was so young, I didn't understand. I understood it, but it was just like any other money at the time to me. Until it was in my hands, it didn't mean shit. Whether it was COD points on Xbox or game. You remember when you could buy Xbox money?
experience. Right.
You could buy it. I used to, we used to buy Xbox money, and that had more tangibility than a Bitcoin at the time. So there's nothing to it. And so we used to make. I watched a YouTube tutorial, right? Showed us how to make modded Xbox controllers for Call of Duty. We would go buy them from the pawn shop, me and my friends. We would edit them, and we would all have badass, you know, glitched Xbox controllers, and we would end up selling them online on eBay too, modded controllers. And it was just only thing you had to do was use a paper clip and bend it a certain way and slide it into a certain groove, and that was it. And it would offset this little flapper.
Hmm.
And we learned that off of a video on YouTube. We ended up making a lot of money. And that money at the time, there were about hundreds of Bitcoins with that kind of money, right? But it wasn't worth nothing. We would have had to keep up with all that shit. We would have had to do so much. And in life, you can never hope that something can go up like with money, with Bitcoin in general, right? If
Mhm.
it's worth $20,000, what are the odds? Unless you own a whole piece, right? What are the odds you put in, like, let's say 100? What are the odds it's going to go to 200 versus going down to 50?
Right.
Think of that forever. Think of that from back to now and forward. At any point, that's real. That ain't going to change. You never can know the speculative value. You need to learn from the past. You need to live in the present, and you need to plan for the future. You can have investments for sure, but make sure your investments don't conflict with your present, and learn from the past where others have done that and where has it taken them in the future. It's all, like you said, it's a full circle. It's a
Mm.
full circle. Whether or not you believe it, some people might not believe that the past can come full circle around because what do you mean? I'm going forward. It can come back around. So it is one big loop of history for a lot of things. So learn cycles,
Right.
learn patterns. If you
Right.
see a pattern, understand it, and trying to remove yourself from some cycles of life if they're not empowering you, right? There's a lot of circles and social circles. You'll hear that a lot of times. I've been hearing the word layers and using the word layers a lot more. But circles are kind of dangerous. I
How
feel
so?
circles are kind of dangerous because it's a loop, and you don't want to be in an endless loop. You want to have kind of layers to where you can go above or below, but you never want to be stuck in one thing continuously. So to summarize, yeah, I did one Vitalik.eth because it's important to own your own identity, and Vitalik knows this, and a lot of other people know this.
And we know it.
Yeah.
We know, and I think the ecosystem is finally coming to a point where it's starting to understand how important this protocol is to the entire ecosystem. So,
Yeah, brands, people, projects. I mean, I never thought Hublot would be the next to show up, but they did. Rolex. I mean, it's the least likely people, but that's just how history does. It's the underdogs sometimes that just kind of they got to keep up. They got to. It's called adapt and overcome, and you don't have to be first, but you don't ever want to just be last. So it's nice to see even brands that don't know anything about Web3. I mean, I never see Hublot talk about crypto until they came into ENS. So
right.
I never was looking at it either too much. So that's the thing. It's all about need. So that's the thing. Let's say, Hublot coming into the space brought money into the space, liquidity, right there themselves. They provided liquidity to the ecosystem to someone I know. And he was able to provide that in return for grants to build smaller art projects within EMS. So it's crazy. It's how something like a watch company can come in and empower your buddy via this coincidence line of events. And none of this can happen without utility. They're not doing it for nothing, right? And even social media engagement in the simplest bone-bearing form. That's utility to some people. I mean, people pay money to have a blue check. Is that a utility? What features did it give you? Right, there you go. So that's a good one for me. What else you got?
No, that's all fine. But so this has been awesome, man. Where can people follow you, or is there anything else?
I'll tell you the easiest way to get to me. EthereumNameService.net. Type it in your web browser, EthereumNameService.net. It takes you right to my OpenSea. I've had it for a long time. You take you to my OpenSea, and on my OpenSea, I've got all my social media linked to it for you to click on and whatnot. And you can see things I've created because OpenSea tracks that. When your wallet does something, it puts it in the created tab. So feel free to go to EthereumNameService.net. All one word, long ass word. Ethereum's one word, name's a word, service is a word. .net. You can go right to it, and it'll pull me up. I own a bunch of other Heavens tools. What is it? Heavens.tools. That's another site of ours and whatnot. So there's a lot of sites and links and whatnot because that's our whole shit. But like I said, EthereumNameService.net. Another reason I claimed it, security is a big thing of mine. I'm big on security, cybersecurity, and I have certifications in that. And my background has a lot of cybersecurity to it. And I want to also protect. So when I seen EthereumNameService.net was available, I mean, it's obvious how bad that is, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's obvious. And not only do I have .net, I have the .xyz and the .io and the .org.
Ooh.
And I have that because I have, I'm fond of the DAO.
Right.
You know what I mean? I wanted to help. I don't want, and not only that, the people of VNS. I don't want ever someone to come into this space or someone to use it and no one know that, let's say Ethereum name service.xyz is redirected to a fake site all of a sudden one day.
Right.
I would much rather, everyone, right, would much rather them point to me in my little OpenSea than a bad mint page, a liquidity stealer of some sort. So that's the thing. I've made it known to everyone in the DAO. I've made it on Twitter known. I'm telling you here, we're all saying it. I own it. And that's the thing. The who is record shows me owning it. And that's just because, just like ETH.link, there's a lot of stuff going on with that. We won't get into all that, but do some research, people. ETH.link read about what happened with that. And, there's a need for people to own things that even DNS and Web 2 things, even though they can be rugged by ICANN and whatnot, we can still own and manage them and import them to ENS and still manage them. So think about that. We'll get into that here soon one day, but it's just 2022. It's been a long, long year already. Shit. And they say next year is going to be calm. They say, what can we have a calm year? Hell no. Screw that. It ain't time for a calm year. What are the odds? We've been announced the mint day and not the final day of Heaven's Tools mint. We've announced it for a while now. What are the damn odds the market dies the day before the airdrop? That's fine. The thing about Heaven's Tools is it's almost, I hate that this has all happened, but it's almost beautiful in a sense. HTML and the decentralized web does not care about feelings at all. It's my websites and my tools and my project and my metadata and NFTs and everything still work.
Right.
No matter what. I don't have to pay another fee. I don't have to care about the price of anything. It works. And it still works. We can all use it together. And that's how we retain value and gain value, not just balance books on a sheet and borrowing from assets that aren't even firm. Why don't we back shit up anymore? Why is shit not one-to-one anymore? Why is shit not provable, plausible? There needs to be transparency and hell, I'll say this down from the song. Don't let your mouth write a check that your ass can't cash. That's what's happening too much. People are writing checks that their ass can't cash. And they're bouncing. I'm tired of this shit bouncing. Because there's fees that are rippling across other people. Not like the thing when a check bounces, the bank sometimes have to pay that fee. That's why they charge you or whatever. So that's the thing. I mean, we shouldn't all be charged as the damn. We're the banks, right? Isn't that funny? You ever heard that? We're the banks. Yeah, we're the banks. We're getting the fucking tax handed down to us when someone's shit bounces, don't it? Damn it. It bounces all right on the damn. Sheesh, all right. Oh, my Lord. Rough out here, damn it. The shit was so bad, my stable coins were up. Because so many people were putting money in them. I was like, that ain't right. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn.
It's peg. It's supposed to be peg.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's supposed to be peg. I shouldn't be making money off stables just because I'm early and know better. I had to cash it out, right? I'm like, this ain't right. I said, I shouldn't be able to buy money for less than $1. That ain't right. And so, that's another thing. They said, well, if the exchanges are gone, how do we onboard fiat and this and that? They said, when it's time, you won't. One Ethereum is one Ethereum, dog. That's what they're saying. They're like, we're just going to be trading ETH and coin. Like, why don't that be anything? Like, these games do, right? We derive the value of that. When I was playing Farmtown, to get 100,000 coins was $100. I would sell you 1,000,000 for $20. And that's how I understood at the time. That's how my young ass learned how supply and demand worked and economies and, undercutting and distributing of exchanges and liquidity and all that stuff right there on Farmtown. Anything can have a market cap. Anything can have a market cap. That's a hell of a one. Imagine someone having that tattoo. Anything can have a market cap. And the dude has like a Doge tattoo on his back.
And Shiba.
Yeah, shit. Hell yeah. The Luna and Shiba tat on both arms. Shit. And Pancake Swap on his damn back or something. But man, that's amazing. So yeah, I've had a great time with this.
It's probably my most favorite interview so far, which is just the authentic. This has been a blast, man.
We'll do one on the global chat, the chat tool one day. We'll do another follow-up, interview on there. Well, we're doing one here. We'll take you to my zone, the .eth. We'll do one off of .eth.
Hey, I'm with it. Let's go. Well, everybody, that was our show. We, hope that you tune in every week. So, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Feel to reach out to reach out to Dylan at Satoshi Test Account. Really appreciate you guys for listening in, tuning in. Thank you, and have a nice one.